Am I right, Val? Amen. I was trying to do something different as far as inspiration. And God would release me from the study period. So, I'm to remind you again. This morning I will be reading 2 Kings, the 5th chapter, verses 9 through 14. And it reads as thus. Then Naaman went with his horses and chariot, and he stood at the door of Elijah's house. And Elijah sent a messenger to him, saying, Go and wash in the Jordan 7 times, and your flesh shall be restored to you, and you shall be clean. But Naaman became furious and went away and said, Indeed, I said to myself, he will surely come out to me and stand and call on the name of the Lord his God, and wave his hand over the place and heal the leprosy. Are not the Amnon and the Pharpar, the rivers of Damascus, better than all the waters of Israel? Could I not wash in them and be clean? So he turned and went away in a rage. And his servant came near and spoke to him and said, My father, if the prophet has told you to do something great, would you have not done it? How much more then when he says to you, Wash and be clean? So he went down and dipped 7 times in the Jordan, according to the sayings of the man of God. And his flesh was restored like the flesh of a little child, and he was clean. On last week, Pastor asked us, he says, everybody get up and walk in your trust. Well, I was walking in my trust, but I was looking around and being observant. And everybody didn't get up and move because you didn't see that it was important. Well, on yesterday he preached, the Bible said to launch out into the deep. And Peter said, nevertheless at thy word, I'll do it. What we have to understand in Christendom, in the kingdom, is that when God instructs us to do something, regardless of how silly or stupid it might sound to us, and I did use the word stupid, it's not by power or by might, said the Lord, it's by my spirit. So we should have all been walking into our trust, unless you don't have trust. Come, assemble, and study. That was the first thing I told you, because God said to say that. Then he said to say, I need relationship. Pastor told us to walk in our trust. God is saying this morning, instruction isn't what it seems to be to you because it has no relevance. He said, but for this test, it's a spiritual thing, and you need to do what the man of God says. Not because he said it, because the word of God said it. He said, because he said, you shall do it. That's what he preached on yesterday. Now, the last thing I want to say is this. Revelations 2 and 7 tells us that he that has an ear, let him hear what the Spirit has to say to the church. I told you what God says. If you don't hear me, I don't have any problem with that, because that's between you and God. But whenever God speaks, if you love him and you're walking in kingdom, you ought to hear the word of the Lord.